Media Advisory, Thursday, December 7th, 2023. 6-month multidrug regimen being evaluated against standard treatment. A trial of a new drug regimen to treat tuberculous meningitis, TBM, has started enrolling adults and adolescents in several countries where tuberculosis T is prevalent. The improved management with antimicrobial agents isoniazid, rifampicin, linezolid for TM, Imagine TBM trial will compare a 6-month regimen of 4 drugs with the 9-month standard of care regimen for TBM. The study aims to generate evidence that could improve treatment for people with TBM. Imagine TBM is sponsored by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, part of the National Institutes of Health, and implemented through the NIAID-funded Advancing Clinical Therapeutics Globally for HIV/AIDS and Other Infections, ACTG. TBM is fatal in about 25 to 50% of adults who develop the disease and often results in permanent disabilities in survivors. It is caused by the Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacterium, which more commonly attacks the lungs and causes pulmonary TB. In TBM, the bacteria infect the membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord, called the meninges, causing inflammation known as meningitis. This can lead to increased pressure in the brain and stroke, which often leads to neurological disability or death. It is estimated that about a quarter of the world's population is living with latent TB, during which tuberculosis bacteria remain alive in the body but inactive, and 10% of people with latent TB become ill from the infection. Among people who develop clinical disease, up to 5% develop TBM. TB is rare in the United States. People living with HIV have a higher risk of death from TBM, with fatalities exceeding 50%. Although TBM is a serious illness with a high fatality rate, less is known about the optimal treatment of this disease compared with pulmonary TB. Participants in the Imagine TBM trial will be given either the investigational 6-month regimen or a 9-month standard regimen. The 6-month regimen will consist of high doses of rifampicin, 35 mg kilograms for 24 weeks, and isoniazid, 15 mg kilogram for the first 2 weeks, followed by 10 mg kilograms for 22 weeks, in addition to linezolid, 1,200 mg, and pyrazinamide, 25 mg kilogram, for the first 8 weeks of the treatment period. This regimen will be compared with the current standard of care, which consists of rifampicin, 10 to 15 mg per kilogram up to 900 mg day, isoniazid, 5 mg kilograms, ethambutol, 20 mg, and pyrazinamide, 25 mg kilogram for 8 weeks, followed by rifampicin, 10 to 15 mg up to 900 mg day, and isoniazid, 5 mg kilogram for the remainder of the treatment period. Over the course of the 48-week study period, the outcomes of the trial participants will be measured by assessing their clinical status, including their neurologic and functional abilities. The trial will include 330 participants aged 15 years and older who have or are likely to have TBM based on signs and symptoms, including people living with and without HIV. Because pregnant women are eligible to enroll in this study with appropriate consent, a small number of pregnant women are expected to be included. Treatment options for adolescent children and pregnant women, groups at high risk of poor outcomes from TBM, are limited due to minimal data on the use of high-dose rifampicin and linezolid in these groups. Data from this trial could help expand treatment options for people in these groups. Additionally, reaching patients who develop this rare form of TB can be difficult, and the disease can be hard to diagnose. The ACTG is well positioned to conduct this study due to its strong clinical research infrastructure in countries with high rates of TB and HIV. The study will shed light on a potentially shorter, better treatment for TBM and could result in improved outcomes for patients with this dangerous disease, saving lives and reducing neurological disabilities. Additional information about the trial is available on clinicaltrials.gov under study identifier NCT 05383742. Peter Kim, MD, Director of the Therapeutics Research Program in NIAID's Division of AIDS, is available to discuss this research. NIAID conducts and supports research at National Institute of Health throughout the United States and worldwide to study the causes of infectious and immune-mediated diseases and to develop better means of preventing, diagnosing, and treating these illnesses. News releases, fact sheets, and other NIAID-related materials are available on the NIAID website. About the National Institutes of Health. National Institute of Health. National Institute of Health, the nation's medical research agency, includes 27 institutes and centers and is a component of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. National Institute of Health is the primary federal agency conducting and supporting basic, clinical, and translational medical research, and is investigating the causes, treatments, and cures for both common and rare diseases. For more information about National Institute of Health and its programs, visit www.nih.gov. National Institute of Health, turning discovery into health.